Yeah. All right, how's everybody doing tonight? Everybody get the pin in?
Yes.
Yay, nay? Okay. Give you a few moments here before I get started. All right, let me turn this on. All right, so let's look at go into Lessons tab if you would, and week 5. The in-class exercise, we'll be using these 2 documents here at the top. If you wanted to go ahead and open those up, you can do so. One is the actual step-by-step, the one that says creating a newsletter. And then the newsletter.docx is the example. So here's the step-by-step you guys will be doing at the end of class on creating a newsletter. It's only 2 pages long. I have some dummy text to put in there for the actual newsletter itself. This is a snapshot of what it looks like when you're done. Here's a finished copy of what it looks like as well. Newsletters, you have to create maybe a number of times within a business for monthly newsletter, quarterly newsletter, whatever the case may be. It is a little tricky on some of the things, so I actually put some tips and tricks in the step-by-step to help you along the way. That way we want to create a newsletter outside of this class. Also, just a heads up, I did put a couple more PDF files down here at the bottom, just as an example. I have a couple make a newsletter.pdf, an example step-by-step, and then the bottom one, how to make a newsletter in Word. These are all just examples I've found online basically. They're pretty good. We won't be going over those in class, but they're just resources for you. Also, your last tutorial quiz, I believe, yeah, there was a correction somebody brought up. Who wants to email me that correction on that? Thank you. And it has already been corrected and fixed on the quiz, so there was one question that was wrong. The answer was wrong, so I fixed it already. So by that time, only 2 people, I think, had taken the quiz, and I went ahead and corrected your scores. And so everyone else shouldn't have to worry about it. And then the Black-Eyed Susan project, which is due Sunday. This file here is a picture file called download file. And this is the actual solution file, the example file that you get every week, what the end product should look like. We'll go over this also before you leave tonight, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and go over. I want to basically do, first thing I want to go over is a PowerPoint presentation on newsletter, desktop publishing, mail merge. We will not be doing mail merge tonight, but we will be doing desktop publishing tonight. So desktop publishing basically is something used quite a bit in businesses for newsletters. Anybody created a newsletter before in Word? Nobody. Great, good. You'll have an opportunity to do that tonight. It's used quite a bit because it allows you to create on the fly a business newsletter that can be reused, maybe a family newsletter. My wife and I have created newsletters for Christmas time for family, because we have family all over the U.S. and showing pictures and update on the kids when they were growing up. And it's just kind of cool thing to do as a family. Everybody got around the computer and got pictures and stuff like that. And the kids did an article or 2. Carolyn, my wife, did an article or 2. And then I basically put it all together. And they helped me kind of show me where they wanted stuff. And so it was kind of cool. Kind of a fun project to do as a family too. But this tutorial goes over different features of a desktop publishing within Word. Now, you might have heard of within Office, they do have a desktop publishing environment, which I'll bring up here. You don't have to open it up. It's called Office Publisher 2007. They have some non-credit courses here on campus that do teach a pretty good section on that. It's in the summer months, I believe. But I've used it before. It works well too. You can tie to that publisher databases for mail merge, things of that nature. In fact, when I was going through my master's, I worked at a place that we used Publisher for our newsletter each month, and we tied it to an Access database and tied in the user's, I believe, full name, company name, address into the newsletter and also onto the envelopes and printed them out each month. So that's a feature within Publisher that you can definitely do as well, but beyond the scope of this class, but it's definitely there for you. So word art is one of the things that you might have, anybody played with word art in Word? You played with word art. Raise your hand if you played with any version of word art in Word. Okay, great. Newspaper style columns. We'll do that tonight. We'll create a 2-column newsletter with a line in between it, a number of headings, pictures, and also a masthead at the very top with a volume number, date, and issue. Also with the newsletter, just so you know, we're going to be also using a left, center, and right tab as well, showing how to set that. Left, center, and right. So far, I think we used the left only. I believe we might have used, I think we used the right one as well. But left, center, and right, we'll use all three. Inserting and editing graphics. You will be downloading a graphic online from Rock Valley College's server as a picture to insert into your newsletter, which is done a lot. Show you how to do that. And then wrap around text around a graphic, which is a default actually. When you bring a picture into Word, the default is to wrap the text around the graphic. You can set graphic though to be, you'll learn tonight, to be in front of all the text. That way you can float it and move it anywhere you want to within the text environment. Otherwise, by default, if you move that picture, it's going to wrap, the text is going to wrap around that picture as you're moving it on the screen. And you'll see that tonight as you're playing with it. Drop caps is another feature within a newsletter. That's where the very first letter is really big, and then the second letter is small. You'll see that in newsletters or newspapers, on headline articles, things of that nature. Symbols and typographic characters are also used within newsletters. Page border, mail merge, and create a blog post. We will not be doing the bottom two in class, but those you can actually do in Word 2007. Also has it in the tutorial too in the book, how to do the mail merge and blog post. So desktop publishing. I was actually a graphic designer for 8 years, and so I didn't use Word, we used Quark Express, and now the popular one is InDesign by Adobe, that some of you might have heard of. So Word isn't really probably the best for desktop publishing, but if you don't have what I just mentioned, it works. What do the other ones offer? Good question, glad you asked. The other ones offer more flexibility and manual manipulation of text, graphics, and images on the fly. You don't have any constraints of anything that Word gives you. It's basically like with Quark and InDesign, it's like a canvas, and you can just throw on there anything you want to and compile it exactly where you want the components to be without any constraints. What I mean by constraints is margins, lines and paragraphs, things of that nature. Okay? That's what a true desktop publisher application allows you to do. So, but Word does, for the layman just starting out, it's excellent. It works really good. If you're just going to create a newsletter once a month, modify some articles, school newsletter, business newsletter, family newsletter, works great right out of the box. Okay? For professional designers doing graphic designing, probably not so much. Make sense? But it's there for you to use, and I'll show you how to use it tonight. So page layout is some of the features that we'll talk about. Graphics, multiple fonts. Also, desktop publishing allows you to do high quality printing, which we don't have in here, but you could actually save the Word document as a PDF file and send it to a printer to do high quality printing. And just so you know, most printers today use PDF as their main file format when you're sending something to be printed as a book, a booklet, poster, whatever. They usually ask and demand for PDF because it's a uniform format that they can read They might not have your unique program that you created the document in, so thereby if they open it up in some other program, the fonts and everything can be messed up, pictures can be messed up. And you might have opened a file from somebody they gave you in Word, and it's all messed up when you bring it in because you don't have the right fonts. Maybe they used a special font they downloaded or bought. Companies can buy and purchase specialized font families for thousands of dollars, believe it or not. And if they do that and they send you a document that has those specialized fonts in it, it's going to be gobbledygook coming in a lot of times. Or they're going to format it to like a static format like Courier or Times New Roman, which might mess up the formatting. Yes?
Isn't that an excellent reason why never to use them?
No, it's not. If you're going to use them, PDF the file and send it to your associates or clients, because everyone has an Adobe Acrobat Reader or free.
Let's say Word. Use anything other than a default font.
If you're not going to PDF it, yes. If you're not going to PDF the file to send to somebody, definitely use a default font families, like Courier, Times New Roman, all the defaults that's within the family. The problem with that is if you're working in a business that you don't know what default fonts are, what those are, it can be kind of tricky. Especially if you pick a font, you're like, oh, okay, it says Times New Roman 3. Okay, that sounds good. It sounds default to me, and it might not be.
With the user that thought it was really cool because she downloaded a bunch of fonts.
Exactly.
She was the only one that had it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, why can't we all see them?
Exactly, right.
Hours and days.
I've seen that. Yeah. You're right. Yeah, you want to keep the default font family. I tell users, as far as letters, keep within the Times New Roman, Courier, Arial family. You can't go wrong with those three. Beyond that, I stay away from it unless you're going to PDF it. Make sense? Good point. So when you're creating word art in Word, it's pretty simple. Let's go ahead and do this. Just play around before we get to the actual in-class exercise. Let's go ahead and start up a new version of Word real quick. And you go to the Insert tab, and there is a Word Art area. If you just click on Word Art by itself right here, without clicking the drop down, if I just do this, notice it gives me different types of word art to choose from. Tonight what I'm going to have you choose is a word art that is a horizontal word art, not any vertical or slanted type of word art. But you can choose any color you want to. So say if you choose, for instance, this one right here, this word art style 8, go ahead and click on any one of them that's a horizontal in nature here. Doesn't have any slants or any funky curves. Then it pops up, what do you want to type in there? Okay. For this example tonight, right now, we can just go ahead and type in word art as the example. We'll keep the font style at Times New Roman and 36 size point, and then just click OK. And one of the things I recommend to do is when you're creating word art or when you're adding word art into a page, when you stretch it out like this, let me see if I can, and you can stretch it out however you want to, but you can play around with it to where it's kind of centered in the page. And these have margins on this page, so it's not going to look as centered as possible. I'll go to page layout, margins, and do a narrow. There we go. Okay, and so word art, basically you've now inserted word art where you want it to be, at the masthead usually, at the top of the document. You can now also not only stretch it like we did here, you can also make it vertically bigger to make kind of the format a little bit nicer to read. Okay. So basically allowing, when you're adding word art, it's going to allow you to drag and move the word art around like I just did on that one. It's a little tricky at times to do it. Some of the word art I don't like. It's too kind of kiddish, I think. But you can find more formal looking word art if you play around with it, and you know, find one that fits that newsletter, the style of that newsletter. So again, just like we did here, you can choose whatever style you want, select that style, type in your text, click OK, it inserts it, and there is a format tool that shows up on word art. If I click on it, go away from it, come back here, it says word art tools, and there is spacing I can do. I can do very tight spacing like this, tight, normal, loose, very loose. And so you can play around with that, see which kind of you like, which kind of word art you like or don't like. And also notice this here, they have 3D effects you can apply to the word art, which again, for a newsletter really doesn't fit in well, but maybe for something else it might, possibly. I don't use the 3D much at all, but it's there. And positioning in word art allows you to do, right now it's by default in line with text, but you could also position it to the left, center of text, right of text, and there's even more options. One of them, just like a picture I told you about earlier, you can actually do what's called in front of text. And this one, if we did that, it would actually float the word art. If I click on this right now and go in front of text and click OK, notice what I can do with this word art now. I can click on it and drag it anywhere in the document I want without any constraints at all for that object. It could be over text or whatever it is that's on that page. Yeah. I'll put it back to where it was. You can actually go up in the tool itself here for word art tools and positioning, more layout options, and you want to choose in front of text. By default, it's going in line with text. But for newsletter, it works fine. In line with text works fine for newsletters. Okay. Do what now? You don't have format. You have to actually click on it, come away and come back, and you should see a word art tools up here like I do on the overhead, and then click on format. Nope, you don't have it. I can come around and see. Yeah, that's not. That's just text, plain text. You have to go up here to insert. You want word art. And then type in word art right there. Okay, click OK. Okay, there it is. Now you've got it. And then now you have the position availability to play with. Everybody else get that? So as you click on the word art, you have the ability to edit that word art to your desired outcome or not. You can keep it as it is, or and we'll play with the text part here in a second. Now, to edit the word art, you click on it, you select it, then you'll see that pop up at the top of your screen for word art tools, and then you can, apply whatever word art options you want to apply. You can change it, change the word art to something else. You can add a 3D effect, text wrapping, positioning. So just remember, If you lose focus on the word art, if I double click right below word art, so I've lost focus of it here. Click on it again. So I've got word art tools format, and then now I can go in and I can edit my text. Or if I want to just double click on the word art or right click, edit text, it has some options too within there. Edit text, grouping, word format. So all right. One of the things that you can play with too, I don't recommend on word art, but you can play with what's called kerning and shaping, the button, kerning and shaping button within the word art option allows you to do that. So if I click on my word art again, I have a kerning effect here that I can go in here and change the effect, this bottom one here. And notice as I hover over the effect, whatever effect that might be, it could be a path or it could be a warp itself. It'll change that word art to fit that effect. Okay?
I don't have responses.
You don't have what?
Responses that you have.
Do you have format? You have to click on format first.
Okay.
Yep. Click on format. There you go, and that's right there. It's the A.
Oh.
And so once you select those, you can select whatever one that you want. Again, I stick with more of the standard straight word art for a newsletter anyway. Text wrapping we've already discussed. You can do different text wrapping. By default it's inline all the way to in front of text. Adjust the positioning. One of the tricks is to keep the headline the same proportion as the original. You can hold the control key down as you're dragging and sizing the handle. It'll keep that proportional. What it's talking about is this here. If I go in and delete my word art that I created earlier, go to Insert, Word Art. I'll just leave it there. If I hit the control key and press it down, it's going to keep the text proportional to what it originally was. But sometimes with newsletters, that's you want the flexibility to stretch it the way you want to. Okay. Also, prevent column formatting. You can anchor it, which we're going to do it a little different than the book has you do it on your exercise. There's a continuous formatting I'm going to show you how to do. That's a little easier to do than the anchoring, and I recommend it more so. But you could anchor it as well. Oop. Formatting text. We're getting into actual what we're going to do for the demo exercise. So let's go ahead and go to the document I have you download tonight so we can do the in-class. I need you to open up the Create a Newsletter.docx and the Newsletter.docx both on your computer. Now, what I've tried to do is create a step-by-step tutorial in class to where you can go by and create a newsletter. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through it real quickly on the overhead and then have you go through it on your own, and I'm just going to walk around and let you follow the example and do it on your own to see how well you do. Okay, so what I'd like you to do first is, if possible, watch what I'm doing from beginning to end, and then do it yourself with this document second. Make sense? All right, so When you start a newsletter, I recommend always changing your margins to a 0.5 on left, right, top, and bottom. That's just so you have more of a canvas to work with for that newsletter. Since most newsletters are emailed to folks today and not printed and mailed, you have a little bit more real estate to work with. Now, some printers do have limitations, and 0.5 is generally the limitation. You don't want to go below that, 0.5. If you go below 0.5, the grabbers of the paper and the ink won't print beyond 0.5, if that makes sense. And so make sure you stay within the 0.5 circumference on top, bottom, left, and right. Most printers will print fine on a 0.5. So to do that, on a newsletter, I'll just go ahead and create a brand new one here and start it from scratch and show you how it's done. Go to the page layout, margins, and narrow. Narrow already has a 0.5 all the way around. We can just choose that. If you didn't want to do it that way, you could go down to custom and do 0.5 this way all the way around. It's going to definitely be portrait. So that's the first thing you do. Second thing you do is insert the word art. You choose the style you want to. You enter in Rock Valley College, and then you grab the box on the left and right and spread it out. Mine looks a little different on the screen because I used a different word art than what we did for the exercise earlier, the example earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and click another one here. And we're going to do word art. And I'll choose this one here and type in Rock Valley College. And what I'm going to do is drag this out and stretch it out a little bit. That's fine. I'm going to leave it just like that. Now, you'll notice when I dragged it out and clicked away, the cursor began to blink right below the R in Rock Valley College. This is kind of tricky part right here. Okay? What I tell you to do is, what I suggest to do is, you can, if you don't get your computer to do this for you, what you can do is, with it selected, hit the right arrow key on your keyboard. And if you notice, the cursor is now blinking to the right of the E on Rock Valley College. And then what I generally do is hit the enter button one time. Hit the enter button one time. So in the instructions, I have you double click below the word art. That's a little trickier. That's the way I did it the first time, but it is a little trickier doing it that way. You can do it. And I noticed some of you do what now?
How did you do that one then again?
Basically, you just go in with, once you've inserted it, it'll look like this exactly. Just hit the right arrow key on your keyboard. The cursor will begin blinking to the right of the word art. You hit the enter key once. That's the way probably might be easier for most of you to do it that way. Now, while the cursor's blinking on number 4 here, below the word art, like mine is now, it's blinking below the word art. I want to make sure it's left justified, but I'll do that in a second. I'm going to go to page layout, breaks, and continuous. That's real important. What this is going to do is, it's going to create a new section right after word art just for my columns I'm going to put in here. My 2-page column with a line in between. All right, or 2-column page with a line in between. This is what the screen's going to look like right here. I'm going to select 2, line in between. Now, line in between is not going to be checked by default, so you have to check that. By default, it's going to be 1 column. You're going to change it to 2. So the only thing you're going to change basically is 2, and then line in between, and then click OK. That's all you've got to do. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the page layout, breaks, and I want the continuous, and then I'm going to go back to columns, 2, or I'll take it back, columns, more columns, line between 2, and then click OK. And so page layout, breaks, continuous, and then columns, more columns, choose 2 columns, line between, and then click OK. Let me go ahead and save this before I forget, just in case. I'm going to go and save this as newsletter. Okay. So make sure you're left justified if it doesn't already, if yours isn't, mine's already, looks like it's already left justified, but make sure it is before you do anything else. Make sure it's left justified on that line that's blinking, cursor's blinking. Then we're going to type in heading 1 through 7 on separate lines. So I'll blow this up for you to see a little bit better. And what I'm going to do to make it easier for me, I'm going to copy heading. Just put it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. Then, once I've done that, I'm then going to highlight every, now this is important. You need to highlight the headings one at a time. Don't do them all at the same time. One at a time, you highlight the headings. Because if you highlight them all at the same time and then click what I'm going to have you click, it'll format everything in between there. You don't want that. Okay? So what we want is a heading format, paragraph format. Heading format, paragraph format. Heading format, paragraph format is what we want. So you do one at a time, each heading, then click on the Home tab, choose heading 1, and then go to the next one. So I'm going to select this, heading 1, and click heading 1 there. Now what could I also do here to make it faster? We did this in class earlier, this semester. What feature could I use to do this right here? Format Painter, I could do that. I could click Format Painter, highlight this. Well, it's already formatted. Double click on Format Painter, highlight. Boom. So if you wanted to do that, you may do that. Then click on this once again to undo it. Now I've got my heading 1 through 7. Now what I have you do is I have some dummy text already put in here. Every time I create a template for a newsletter, is what I always do. I don't worry about text yet. Now it's different though. Newsletters are different than letters or documents, professional documents. Because remember the first day of class I told you, when you go to create a Word document, what's the first step to do? Remember? What's the first step you do before you ever create it? What do you do? Do what now? Figure out is what type of letter or document you're creating. Then, do you worry about formatting second step? No. Do you worry about just inserting text second step? Yeah, you're just inserting all the text that you need, right? But during that inserting part, you're not formatting text. You insert and you format text when in the process on just a regular letter or document. What's the book say? What have we been going over on it? Is it towards the first part or the very end part do you do formatting? Very end. In graphics, layout, and design, formatting's on the front end. Text and other stuff's on the back end. As a graphic designer, I did not care about text. I did not care about content. I cared about the layout. It was up to the editors and writers to put in the content. I did the layout. Make sense? And so same thing with newsletters. You're not caring about content right now. You're just caring about layout, what it looks like in this view right here. What I tell students is you want to bring it down to about a 35–40% view. If you don't like the layout, you need to change it. You could care less about the text right now. Does that make sense? When you're doing a newsletter. You say, I know I want 5–6 articles in it. I want a picture. I want this as my heading. I want this as the volume, date, and whatever. Below the heading, done. Below the masthead, done. And then you go in and fill the content in later. So, going back to this, get our dummy text. I'm going to copy it. Control C. I'm going to go to my heading 1. Now this is important. Put your cursor to the end of heading 1. You can just hit enter once. Control V. Keep doing this all the way down. And you'll see the second column begin to flesh out here in a second along with a line. Okay, so I've got my bird's eye view here now of what I've got so far. I've got my masthead, my headings 1 through 7, my dummy text, line in between 2 column, my margins 0.5 all the way around. Make sense so far? Okay? Then, after I've done that, I want you to insert a picture of Rock Valley College between the headings 5 and heading 6. And once you download it, you go to the Insert tab, Picture from File. So I went ahead and put a hyperlink here for you in this document. And you notice when I put my mouse over it, it says do Control-click to follow the link. That's what you want to do. Control-click will follow the link. Boom, it's right there in full view. You don't need to search Google for it. Right-click, Save Picture As. Go to Desktop, save it. I'm going to go to my Word document, and in between 6 and 7, and I suggest keeping it at this view right here while you're inserting the picture, around 40, 50%, somewhere around there. I'm just going to enter at the end of that paragraph. I'm going to go to Insert Picture. Now what I'm going to do, you'll notice on the finished product, I spread it out a little bit, made it a little bit bigger, and I applied a format shadow. You can do whatever shadow you want to. You don't have to do what I did. Okay, you can play around with them. So let me show you. I'm going to go ahead and, if I hit the Control key while I'm spreading this out here, it's going to keep the dimensions. There you go. And then up here you can apply a different format if you want. I think I use this one here, this drop shadow rectangle, but you can do whatever you want to. I'll do something different. I'll do that one. Okay. Now, what you want to do, remember I showed you on this here, on the masthead, the word art, to do the right arrow, hit enter to go to the next line. Same thing on the picture. You click on the picture once, do the right arrow key. Then this time, instead of just enter, because there's going to be a caption underneath it, I only want one line. What can I do for one line? What key can I hit plus enter to do only one line? Anybody remember? Just not double line, but one line. Just force one line, remember?
Spacing?
Nope. Starts with an S, you're right. Shift enter. Shift enter will force one line, and that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and do one line, center it, and I'm going to type in Rock Valley College. And I don't like the format yet. I'm going to show you what I'm going to have you do, because it's still too far away from that picture. This here is too far away here from the picture. So remember I told you earlier, and I don't have this in your instructions, but remember I told you earlier how you can take pictures and put it in front of text to get away from the formatting feature, the wrapping feature? I'm going to do that with this one because I want this Rock Valley College to be right below the picture. And it's hard to do that with a text wrap that's currently right now. If you notice, text wrapping is currently right now in line by default. I'm going to change it though just to show you what's going to happen here. I'm going to change it through the in front of text. Notice what it does now. It moves stuff around, but I can now manipulate better this line here. Boom, perfect. I want to make the picture just a little bit smaller. I'm going to keep it the same size. I'll keep it just like that. And just to make sure there's no space here, if you hit the delete key, if I hit the delete key right there where my mouse is my cursor is blinking, notice what it did. It deleted that space, that heading 1. That heading 1 uses quite a bit of white space, by the way. And in graphic design language, white space is a good thing, because one of the first things you do when you tell a student or a child, let's use a child for example. How many kids or grandkids? Anybody? One person? Okay. When you tell a kid and you give them a piece of paper and it has lines and like a giraffe's on it, right? And you give them some colors. What's the first instinct to do with those colors? Just draw within the lines and get a lot of white space. What's the first instinct to do? Yeah, just cover the whole thing up. And the first instinct for a newsletter is to fill up everything with something. Make sense? Fill up everything, and that's the wrong thing to do. So a little white space is good. We'll keep it there like that. Now, if by chance yours does this, and it might, let's say you have some white space that happens to occur on your document and it creates a page you don't want, all you need to do is take your cursor to the end of whatever text is currently on that page, the last part of that text, hit the delete key until that page is gone. That second, third page, fourth page. Because believe you me, creating that extra page is really easy in Word. You can add one extra white space can create a new page. Make sense? And so easily done by doing it that way. So we did a caption. One thing I didn't do on my example here is I want you to italicize the caption. And that's about it. Now we could apply, I played around with these defaults. I didn't like any of them, but you might play around. You might like some of them, maybe, I don't know. This one here doesn't look too bad. This book title one actually doesn't look too bad. Now I see it, that looks pretty good. So we've done that. We're actually up to now 10. We did the caption. Now the tricky part, not real tricky, is we're going to resize the word art picture if need be. Some of your word art won't need to be resized, by the way, if you've already formatted it beforehand. What I mean by that is, see how this one already, it's pretty much, there is no, I can't make this one really, I don't want to make this one any shorter, okay, than it is. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep it like it is. But what I am going to do is do another right arrow, Shift Enter, to give me some white space. You'll notice I got page 2. I'm not going to worry about right now. And right there where my cursor's blinking is where I'm going to create 3 tabs under the word art picture. I'm going to do a left tab, center tab, and right tab. And that's going to comprise this area here. Let me blow this up a little bit. We're creating this line right here now. Issue 5, today's date, and CIS120 is what we're going to create now. And this is a L tab, center tab, and then the right tab, the end tab. So let me go back to this one. Now what do I need that I don't have on my document right now to create a tab? What don't I have showing? Rulers. Where do I go to get rulers? Anybody remember? View. Good. Excellent. View. Then where? Rulers. Now, one of the things you want to do with a ruler or with tabs is you probably want to bring the zoom in just a little bit, maybe like 90% possibly, so you can see a better view of everything. Okay. Now with my cursor blinking, notice right now I have all I have is my margins. That's it. Right now I have my margins left and right. That's all I have. Now if I put my cursor here with heading 1, notice I have the column margins now in that. Just want to make note of that. Because remember last week we did tabs. I showed you how tabs, you can put tabs in different sections. And that's what we're doing here. This is a section that actually fits with the heading. So by default, I'll put my mouse over this to show you. I'll start L is the left tab. Okay. The next tab, when you click on it, is center tab. What the center tab does is, as you type, it's centering that text like this as you type. Okay. On the L, and on this one right here, the right tab, it will, as you're typing, let's see, this is the right side of the page, it does this way. Okay. The center does this way. And then we want the L first. Boom. So I'm going to click now. I do not want you to click right here at the very left yet. What I suggest to do is this. Put the L anywhere like right here, away from the existing hanging indent, left indent. And I'll tell you why. If you were to click on it right here, sometimes it can mess up this indenting and margins. I've seen that happen on accident. So if you click away from it, then remember you can click on an existing tab and then drag it to the left, all the way to the left, and then release it. That's why I want it all the way to the left as possible. Okay. Then my center, see this line right here? I want it lining up with this line. So I'm going to throw it anywhere on here right now, fairly close to where I want it. Then I'm going to click on it and hold it, and see that little dotted line? You want that dotted line to line up with that vertical line. Once it lines up, you can then release it. Then I'm ready for the right one. And I want it all the way to the right of that E. See that? I want it to the right of that E. So I'm actually going beyond the actual margin just a hair. Okay. Looks like I lost my L. Okay, there it is. Okay, we're going to do, what is it? Issue 5, date, and then CIS120. Issue 5, tab, today's date, September 21st, 2011. Tab again, and then CIS120. Save it, Control S. Last thing we've got to do is we're going to highlight that line we just created, and we're going to create a highlight color and select gray 25%. One thing I suggest to do on highlight colors is stay away from anything bright and colorful. You don't want that. It's a highlight. So for most newsletters, if it's a kind of a formal or business type newsletter, you want to stay with gray 25%. Okay? If it's something fun or colorful or a poster, you can go with some different colors. Just make sure the color contrasts the font color. So if you have blue font, you wouldn't want a dark blue highlight. Make sense? So you want it to contrast. If you have blue font, you maybe want a fuchsia color background, or maybe a light purple background, or even a lighter yellow background, real light yellow. So I'm going to highlight it. Then I'm going to go to the highlight color section in just a second, which, by the way, the highlight color is right up here to the left of your font color. Looks like a highlight marker. Okay? And we're going to select the 25 gray. So I'm going to select that whole line, go to my Home tab, highlight color, and it's this one right here, gray 25. Control S, and we're done. That's the newsletter. And then you can go in and tweak it some more maybe. Maybe you want to move that picture a little bit, move this text a little bit, possibly, whatever. So what I'd like you to do is now take the document that I've given you that I just went over and do what I just showed you how to do from start to finish, both pages. I'll walk around, see if you need any help. Make sure and save this as newsletter on your desktop as soon as you get started, and then just do a Control S periodically as you're going through here. That way you don't lose your document. You are going to submit this, by the way, to the Dropbox tonight before you leave. A little different on this week. And so make sure and save it on your desktop, and then I'll have you submit it to the Dropbox as newsletter. Just when you submit it to the Dropbox, as always, for the submittal instructions, for the title, put your name, and in the message, just put newsletter, and then attach this to the Dropbox for this week. Okay? So I'll kind of walk around and help you. Go forth and create newsletter. And if it doesn't look exactly like mine, it's okay. Just have fun with it a little bit. Next week is Excel class. Next week, those of you starting, I know, coming next week, plus there'll be some new students. In fact, I've got a full class for Excel. And so here we go. Let's go over the take home. And when is everything due? Monday. Thank you. Or Sunday. Sunday. Monday. Monday? Well, technically you're right. In fact, I told somebody earlier today, they asked about that. Who was it and wanted to know? Okay. Technically, I don't have to submit grades till Tuesday morning. So if you really can't get it in by Sunday, please get it to me by Monday, no later than like 10 p.m., please. Okay, that would be great. All right, so let's go over the take-home. Week 5 is this Word project 4.1, Black-Eyed Susan. When you're done with it, you'll put it in this week 5 Dropbox, just where you put your exercise tonight. So let's go over this real quick. This file here is the picture file to download. This is the solution file. Let me go ahead and open that up real quick just to show you what the end product close to look like, something like this. It's got a header information, picture insert, a table, some information about the Black-Eyed Susan, and a website URL, and then a footer information. The project itself, I enlarged the font a little bit this week to help reading-wise anyway. If you wanted to print this out, some students do like to print this out and do it that way. That's fine. The only reason it might be helpful not to print it out, or maybe print it out and keep it on the screen, is there is some text that it has you actually copy and paste into the document, and it might help you to keep it open just for that purpose, but you could print it out if you wanted to as well. Pretty straightforward on step-by-step on this one. I did modify a little bit by adding instructions like the download file for the picture. As soon as you start your document, make sure and save it as it has you save it in number 2 with that name. Immediately has you change the page orientation to landscape. Margins has you change. You do some formatting to columns. We've already done columns tonight, so it shouldn't be hopefully a major deal for you. And then tells you what to type in on the left column. You insert a picture, a blank line, and then a table. Tells you what information to put in the table. And what I suggest to students on this one, because there is a lot of little bitty information, if you wanted, it might be helpful to print this one out too. If you don't want to go back and forth, you could print this one out to look at it, hard copy. Otherwise, you could go back and forth just on the screen. It's up to you, just so you kind of know layout-wise. Because as I went around helping some people, some of you got done early with your newsletter, issues with spacing was this picture might have been too large on some of yours, possibly, and it pushed the text of the table into this column. So just little stuff like that might help you looking at the finished product. So once you insert, you format the table so it's easy to read. You insert a column break after the table, just like we did tonight on that column break. Insert that. And then you insert the text, this text here, and it shows up on the right side over here. Now, in the online example, it's bolded, I believe. You don't want it coming in bolded, so you might have to unbold it and reformat that possibly. Once you insert that text, then you insert 2 lines, 2 blank lines, and enter this text. Insert 2 more lines, enter this text. Now, as soon as you type it, if you copy and paste this, it'll actually copy and paste it with the URL. But in Word, let me show you something real quick. I'll go ahead and type in a new URL real quick just to show you. I'll type in like www.facebook.com. Now watch. No underline yet, right? If I hit the spacebar key after you type a URL, the underline comes in automatically. Okay? So if you manually type this in, any URL in Word, when you type it in and hit the space bar, it'll automatically create a hyperlink of that text to do the click follow like you guys did for the picture tonight. Okay? Once you do that, then you have header and footer information. That's pretty simple. Name of your company left, plant right. Then in the footer, full sun, partial shade on the left, and then easy care on the right. Save and preview it, submit it to Dropbox, download and preview the example if you don't already have it up. What the finished copy should look like is this one here. Okay, notice it is in landscape view. Header, footer information is there. So follow the directions as always. This is your final week. You guys have been a great bunch of students. Hope you learned some stuff in Word 2007. And I'll see some of you for next week. If you need any help on this assignment, give me an email. I will be on campus. I won't be here Monday at all. Tuesday, say for instance you get stuck on something really bad, which I don't foresee, I will be here on campus in my office upstairs Tuesday at 3:30. So if you do need some help on anything or any questions on anything, I'll definitely be there to help you. All right? No, you don't.
Because you're not going to be here.
I'll be here Tuesday. I'll be here Tuesday at 3:30, but I won't be here Monday. Monday I'm not. I don't have office hours, but Tuesday and Wednesday I do. So, but you guys have been a great bunch of students. Again, hopefully you learned some stuff. And I thank you for helping each other in this type of class. It's really great to do that and needed to do that. I can't be everywhere at once. I wish I could. But hang back if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'll see some of you next week. Others of you, I'll see you around the hallways and maybe in some other classes. So we are done. Great job.